And here we go.
Padula on the drive. Padula, tap back and in. No time on the clock. 5 seconds remaining. Taylor, that's a three. On the way, and he drains it. JJ lost the ball. Three on the way. Goal!
Hello, friends. Welcome back into another episode of the D1 and Done Pod, Season 2, Episode 20. This episode of the D1 and Done Pod brought to you by the official Mountain West and SEC correspondents, the benefactors of the podcast, the Hagen Hall Boys. Make sure you give us a follow on our social media pages. That's Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. You can email us, d1anddonepod@gmail.com. You can find us anywhere that you get your podcasts. We're mainly on Spotify, so leave us a review there. Leave us 5 stars. You can also leave a comment if you want to leave your number for Nick. He's still single and ready to mingle. So that's the best way to get at him is the comment section on Spotify. That's where he's going to do his work, obviously. I'm Robbie Donahoe. Nick Mills, Dusty Mills, flying in here. We have a special guest on the pod today. We are excited to have the greatest graduate of the University of Memphis. That is Theodore J. Werre, former sports anchor, director at WJTV in Jackson, Mississippi. TJ and I go way, way back. Now, he was in Mississippi before I got there, working at WCBI. We bonded over our love of college basketball. We continue to bond over our hatred of not being able to pick who makes the Final Four every single 2 weeks, which we need to get that back on. But TJ is a diehard college basketball fan and loves everything basketball and hoops. TJ Werre, welcome to the D1 and Done Pod.
Thanks for having me, Robbie. Hey, thanks, boys. It's when you guys started this, I was like, man, this is really cool. And then I listened. I'm so jealous of you guys that you've found a way to get together and have these conversations with each other. You've got that friendship. It's really cool. I'm just honored to be here, and I really appreciate you having me on for a little bit.
Well, this is the power of friendship, and we should mention we may have made some waves over the past week in regards to a rant that I might have put out there in regards to Purdue, and I threw a couple well-known college basketball podcasts under the bus, one of which being Sleepers Media, who I think they're fantastic and they do a great job. They got a little testy with us on social media, so if anyone is coming in from us with the Purdue rant or us tagging Sleepers and them kind of getting a little clinched, welcome aboard. We are glad you're here. If this is your first time listening to the pod, our good pal Dusty Mills played Division I college basketball at Ball State and Kentucky, walking on to both schools. He is the D1 part of the D1 and Done Pod, while Nick and I, we are done with all of the nonsense from our favorite college basketball teams. And TJ can hop aboard as well, as he is his beloved Memphis Tigers were a Mario Chalmers 3 away from being national champions 16 years ago. I wasn't going to bring it up, but I figured, we can all revel in our despair of being that close to winning a national championship.
Yes. Thank you for bringing that up, because I'm sure I thought it was going to come up at some point anyway. And as far as my high school basketball prowess, I got cut twice during tryouts, so I never even made a team. So go me.
But TJ in the corner. But do not leave that man open in the corner.
It's funny. I've got a pickup game I play on Fridays now, and I've developed a pretty good, moving three-point shot, set a screen for me, moving on I've been working on a lot of it in my driveway as a 38-year-old, almost 39-year-old. You can always learn new things. So I'm deadly behind the arc. Watch out.
I love it. So TJ is well-versed in SEC basketball and obviously Memphis basketball, so that's kind of the reason why I had him on. But TJ, I'm going to start off hot with you. Who's the best team in the Southeastern Conference right now? Because I think everyone wants to still say Auburn. Some may vote Alabama number 1 in their poll, me, which we'll talk about our top 25s in a little bit. Who is the best team in the Southeastern Conference right now? Because you could also make an argument for Florida. You could go a lot of different directions here.
You really could. And it's funny because I don't know if it was last week, I texted you and I said, so basically it's Auburn and it's Duke and everybody else, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
right?
And they both lose.
Right? Right? And then they both lose. So, like, where are we? I will stick with Auburn for now. Man, like, Florida has got some really good wins. They all do. I mean,
yeah.
Alabama, I was like, Alabama's got to be a team, right? I texted you that one too, and then they went and they lost to Ole Miss. But I mean, I love Alabama, but I'll stick with Auburn for now. But it's just, I think it's up in the air.
So we made this. I can't remember who brought the question up, but there is an outside chance. It's probably not going to happen. There's an outside chance that the SEC could get all 4 1 seeds in March. Not saying it's going to happen, but if Duke somehow continues to fall off a little bit, if this Clemson loss snowballs, there's a chance you could get Alabama, Auburn, Florida, Tennessee as your 4 number 1 seeds. And we were covering SEC basketball when they could barely get 3 teams into the tournament. Like, how is this?
When the best team was LSU getting 8.
How has this changed over a decade from when we were covering them?
Well, I think it starts with Greg Sankey really making it a point to the schools to be like, go get coaches. Yeah. I think it was you guys talking about it last week.
Yeah, we mentioned it last week.
Yeah. Like, he really made it a point. Go get some coaches. And then meanwhile, the ACC has kind of regressed, and you guys touched on it last week. They've got older coaches who are retiring. They don't have that energy that these SEC coaches seem to have. The SEC went and poached a lot of good coaches. I mean, Ole Miss has Chris Beard in there, and he's going to do things with Ole Miss. He's already doing good things with Ole Miss, just like with State and Chris Jans. They've got the coaches, man. And I think that is making a world of difference for right now. But the idea that they could have maybe that many have all the 1 seeds were just all the teams that could get in right now. Like, I remember going to some SEC tournaments, and you go the first night because you're there covering State because it's everybody gets in. And you're just like, I don't want to be watching this basketball. Even like most of the games on the second day, it's bad basketball. But now it's so good across the board. It's a complete transformation. And it's kind of stunning to see what they've been able to do in such a short period of time.
I think we lead the country in covering 11-14 games on a Wednesday night in the SEC tournaments.
I go interview like Rick Ray at Bridgestone Arena in Atlanta. Like, Rick, what do you guys got to do to, make some noise? And it's just like, you guys aren't going to do anything. You know it, and I know it.
My favorite part from that, I think Ole Miss was an 11 seed one year in Nashville, and I think I was the only person that was actually there covering the game for TV. And I got this great shot of Sebastian Saiz walking into the locker room, like giving me the Hang 10 logo and just giving me the biggest grin possible. I'm like, yep, if I don't get anything else out of this trip from Nashville, at least got that cool shot from Sebas, because I had nothing else to even remotely pay for my time covering such ridiculously bad basketball.
Well, Robbie,
go ahead.
Robbie, does TJ know about the 2012 SEC tournament?
We'll get to some stories from our times before.
Okay,
yes,
you're good. You're good.
We will get there. Nick, I want to turn things over to you.
First SEC tournament.
Yeah,
we'll get to that.
I've not spoken to you yet. I'd love to ask if you ask me a question. What's up, Rob?
No, I want you to ask a question for TJ. Like, I feel like I'm the one. I'm the one pounding TJ. Yeah, I will. I'm sorry. It's fun reminiscing a little bit.
Well, yeah, we're still talking SEC. So I guess he answered. So you said you have Auburn as well, right? TJ is the still best.
Yeah. I'm still with Auburn.
Yeah, so I guess I'll give my take. I know we're supposed to be asking TJ here questions, but like you mentioned the 4-1 seeds thing, I do think it's possible. I don't think it's gonna happen in the sense that the conference is too good. I think one of these teams is gonna go 2-3 in a 5-game series.
Yeah, 1-3 down the yeah.
So who is that team then? Who's that team that's going to do that then?
Tennessee.
That's what I think Tennessee is. Yes.
They just can't score enough. That's
And it'll think like even Alabama, Auburn have to play each other Saturday. Florida, the Elijah Martin injury. Walt Clayton's been injured already. So I think it's just such a needle you have to thread to get 4-1 seeds. But I don't know. It's way more likely than when you first said the other day to me, though, Robbie. Duke, what? They lose 1 to 2 more games. I think it's very much on the table. I think it's fair to say
they still have to go to Chapel Hill. Granted, it's not a great North Carolina team, but that's going to be a desperate North Carolina team. Yeah. So,
hey, Do you see Auburn's schedule? I just pulled it up. Their last 4 games are home against Ole Miss, at Kentucky, at Texas A&M, and then home at versus Alabama.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, they could be a 4 seed in the tournament by the time the SEC tournament by the time the regular season ends.
That's why.
Wait, real quick. How do we make it that Alabama and Auburn play those basketball games? Because they'll never be 1 and 2 in the nation ever again. How do we get them to play those in the football stadiums like the?
Yeah, right. That'd be nice. Yeah.
Or put them on an aircraft carrier out at Lake Tuscaloosa outside of Saban's house.
Yes,
that'd be fantastic. Yeah,
Tuscaloosa.
But it's crazy. It is.
Can I also shout out how good the SEC is this year? We were talking about how far it's come.
Yeah.
So the 2013-14 season, they had 3 teams make the tournament, which oddly enough, 2 of 3 didn't make the Final Four. But according to KenPom, their rating this year is plus 21.66. For reference, last year the Big 12 had best KenPom rating at 16.66.
Wow.
So we were 5 full points better. And the greatest all-time one in the KenPom era is 21.37 for the ACC shot in 1997. So even by KenPom standards, this is the best conference ever. Again, they had 3 teams make the tournament a decade ago. And 13 teams are on the table to make the tournament? I think it's fair to say. It's just insane.
South Carolina beat Clemson and they're winless in the conference.
And that's what's crazy is the bottom of the SEC outside of South Carolina, and South Carolina's been close to a couple really good wins. I mean, remember we all said Vandy was going to be at the bottom of the SEC, and they're going to end up finishing probably around the middle. LSU's not terrible; they almost beat Ole Miss over the weekend. So it is impressive to see. And I know we didn't want to just go all in on talking SEC, but I think they have become the story in college basketball, just how superior they are to every other conference in the country. I mean, what is the second best conference in college basketball? Is it the Big 12? Is it the Big 10? Could you make an argument for someone else? I don't know, but it's.
I would say the Big East. I think has
or Big East, yeah. It's remarkable, and we already
our sponsor, the Mount West. Shout out, they may be second.
Mount West could be second, and through all of this. No one is saying anything about Missouri and Texas A&M. Missouri, a team that didn't win one SEC game last year, is now a top 20 team, and Texas A&M just took their heart in Como with that Wade Taylor 3. I will be honest, this A&M team, as much as they don't look like they win in an aesthetically pleasing way, I don't want to see this A&M team just because they're going to beat you to death.
They have 6 notable wins away from home, which, listen to these wins away from College Station. They've beaten Creighton, Texas Tech, your Boilermakers, Robbie, shout out, the Ole Miss Rebels, Missouri, and you can throw in Oklahoma in there. I think they're a tournament team right now. So that's 6 legitimate tournament teams they've been away from College Station, away from the male cheerleaders. That's a pretty good resume for the Aggie men. Oh, yeah, TJ, I have a question for you. Do you have a thought on the male cheerleaders in Aggie land?
So,
as someone, he's been to College Station, so he has a good perspective here, yes.
I've been. It was Johnny Manziel's last home game. Man, let me tell you. That's weird.
It's just weird.
I'm sorry if I'm offending anybody. But Texas A&M people just know it. It comes with the territory at this point. You're gonna get roasted. I can't understand it. I cannot. It's as weird as it looks. It's as weird in person as it looks on TV. It's just strange. I can't.
Did you go to the Midnight Yell?
No, I did not. No.
And then they run out.
I wish I had.
And then they run a collie out there and think that's their mascot. Apparently that collie is the highest ranked military person on their entire campus.
I want to know more. Is there a chance that TJ actually went to A&M and tried out and didn't make the Yell Eaters, and that's why he's so?
Would that be amazing? No, that's not the case. No, it's not the case. It's a strange place, man. It's a strange place.
Kind of like the place that Robbie just said that he didn't realize.
Oh my gosh! Yeah. All right, here we go. Okay, we talked everything SEC. We will get to Bama Auburn coming up on Saturday a little bit later, but you have the Memphis side of you as well. And I think we kind of have forgotten Memphis since Maui. At least most of the casual college basketball fan. Maybe not
Nick.
Maybe not Nick, and maybe not Dusty.
Yeah, I'll say I've been high on Memphis all year.
I know, but
I
I
missed Dusty last week. I heard Nick say he was still in on him.
I'm generalizing here, and I apologize again. Generalizing is a dangerous thing to do with people that take things and they get offended really easily. I don't know if you might have listened to a rant last week, and that could have possibly popped up. But Memphis they haven't lost since in 3 weeks, I think, something like that.
They're what, 10 the conference, I think?
Yeah, 10
Yeah, so we saw how good they were in Maui. They obviously had that Arkansas State loss, which Arkansas State's starting to turn into a pretty decent team that could end up making the tournament. They're going to win the American rather easily, probably, as long as they don't do something dumb and UAB goes crazy at the end. But is this Memphis team capable of doing something they haven't done in a long time, which is make a run of the Final Four?
Okay, so it's funny all of this is coming together when you say it, like just me being on here and talking Memphis, because last night I was chopping up with some of my college buddies and we were talking and the Tigers came up. And look, I've never been on the Penny train. I didn't I got the hire when he got hired because we needed some life, because Tubby Smith, he comes in and it just, there was nothing there. But I was always skeptical about how he would do as a coach. I knew he could recruit, and then he came in and he recruited his tail off. He's got all these top kids coming in. I'm like, okay, this could be okay. But then James Wiseman thing happens and he fights on the NCAA, Memphis versus everybody. Doesn't really work out for him well. Things just go sideways and he can't really get his footing. So we're looking at Memphis, and I'm looking at their tournament history. I'm like, when was the last time we got out of the first weekend? It was 2009. I
was going to say, I
2009.
realize it was that
That's
long ago.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy to me. And Dusty, I love Cal. I'm over him leaving Memphis the way he did. I got over it a long time ago because he brought so much to Memphis. But for it to be so long between Cal doing what he did and then Passner, Tubby, Penny, and no one can get out of the first weekend. It blows my mind. So Penny comes in, he's got all these expectations, but they can never put it together every year. The teams always just don't look very well coached. They don't look like they play smart basketball. It's still a lot of street high school style. Let's throw it down the floor and hope we can get an easy basket and so we turn it over. So I'm very skeptical. However, I think the portal thing has kind of helped him, because instead of worrying about developing high schoolers, he's just going out and getting the best available older players he can get. The entire roster is transfers except for one. I believe that's the correct number. So you have PJ Haggerty, you have Tyrese Hunter, who's hurt. I hope he gets better soon. Colby Rogers, Dane Danger, these guys are making an impact. They know how to play the game. They come from places that have played well, like Danger. He came from Illinois. PJ Haggerty was at Tulsa, so but Tyrese Hunter at Tech. Yeah. Tyrese Hunter was Big 12 Freshman of the Year, I believe, when he was there. So he has some talent, and you can see it. This is a different Penny team. They just look different. At the same time, they do play down to their level of competition. So there are some games in conference play, like when you're giving up 83 points at Rice or 82 at home to Temple, or squeaking out wins against, I don't know, North Texas. North Texas looked pretty solid. But you get in these situations, you're the superior team. I would like to see more foot on the gas, foot on the throat, putting teams away. But you look at the overall body of work, all the wins, those Michigan State fans who got onto you. Memphis beat Michigan State.
Mm-hmm.
We've got to win over UConn. We've got to win over Missouri. Clemson, Virginia, both of those were on the road, and Ole Miss. So I think it's a different team. I really hope they can get out of the first weekend this year. They could have a 4 seed, possibly, if things go right and they don't blow it in the American tournament. So I'm cautiously optimistic about how things could go next month.
Congratulations to Purdue fan TJ Werre, hopelessly optimistic. That is literally the Purdue mantra right there. Dusty, go ahead.
I want to ask TJ, were you a fan of Memphis before you went there?
Kind of. We lived in so my family moved to the Memphis area in Millington when I was in 7th grade. So and then I obviously went to school there. We stayed there. So, yeah, I was a fan before I went there. I didn't really – however, college sports weren't really a thing in my house. We were much more like – my dad is a huge Packers fan. So, I was always a pro sports kind of guy. I didn't really find my passion for college sports really until I got to Memphis. And then even for SEC football and all that, it didn't really happen until I got in college football until I moved to Mississippi in 2010. Always kind of been a pro guy first, but now I love the college game.
You look like Aaron Rodgers, by the way. Not even trying to be like, you kind of look like Aaron Rodgers. Not even trying to be funny.
He does kind of look like,
Does he not?
Rodgers.
He mentioned the Packers, oh, wow.
Oh, okay. I'm 6'1", 170, so I don't look anything like him, but thanks, guys.
Way more successful lately.
Yeah.
I'll be honest.
Robbie, you don't have a Netflix doc, does he? I've not watched that, by the way.
It's
Robbie or me?
It's a private Netflix doc. You're not allowed to watch it. Yeah,
okay.
it's
I
not
meant
available.
TJ, not Robbie, right?
No, I don't know.
It's called OnlyFans.
Yes.
So is Memphis matchup dependent? I guess is that what it comes down to? I hate that term, but if they get with a team like a Marquette or someone that likes to run up and down, I feel like that's kind of where they're at their best.
I don't know. I do agree with the get up and down.
Yeah.
Because they do like to score. And if a team is not going to play a ton of defense, that's obviously going to be a way for them to succeed because their guard play is so good. But at the same time, I don't know, you mentioned that, and you play Auburn and they were overmatched. You play Mississippi State, very physical team, and they didn't compete. So if it comes down to a team that is really going to get in your face, I don't know if that's very good for them. But otherwise, they have a win at Clemson. Duke just lost there. I mean, I'm trying to find ways to be to kind of poo-poo this team, but I can't. But again, this is the pessimist side of me that says something's going to happen. But they've got the resume. That Clemson win looks so good now.
Looks great, yeah.
It looks so good now. Now Clemson's 16th, I don't know, they were 16th in the nation when they beat them, but it looks even better. That Michigan State win looks even better. That Missouri win looks even better. I mean, you put them up against not anybody below maybe the top four. I think they can beat anybody.
It's one of those sneaky resumes. It's oh my, they beat this team. They beat this team, and they're almost all either neutral or on the road, which is even more impressive.
Yeah, I know. It's mind blowing, and that UConn win, I could not believe. And UConn. I mean, I thought when they were playing St. John's the other night, they may have finally figured it out, and
they may not.
No, they haven't.
Yeah,
I don't think so, not anymore. But yeah, it's just when they did that and the way they were able to score. And I texted you after this one too. It was just I was so impressed with the guard play and how they can hit shots from deep. So luckily, when you get in the NCAA tournament, you're not playing bad teams. So if you're playing down to somebody's level of competition, I mean, they're all good at that point. You just hope they don't coast too much or lose focus. I really can't see a reason why they would just have a really bad game unless they're just super physical.
That's what I feel like the Americans kind of holding them back. They need to be in a Big 12 or a conference that challenges them consistently. Not saying
that would be nice.
But the American is a solid conference. North Texas and UAB are solid teams, but I mean, there's no one challenging Memphis as the best team in that conference right now. It's not happening.
No, and FAU is not FAU, so with Dusty May gone, it just doesn't matter. It's a weak conference. It is what it is. Someone take us, please get us out of here.
So if Memphis doesn't make the second weekend, are you ready for a change and you want to start over and do something different then from Penny Hardaway?
I mean, I kind of have them, but no, I don't think you can though. I don't think you can.
Yeah,
I don't think you can call for it. I mean, it would be a major disappointment. It would just based on the way the season is going and the wins that we have already. But I don't think I would call for his head. I mean, he's built some goodwill with me now. I mean, so I don't think I would call for it. I would just be really mad. Come on, Penny. Come on.
Yeah.
If not now, then when? This is the best chance we've had, and we're going. And I don't know if you're getting another chance like this. Because you have to bring in a bunch of other new guys. Can it all work out like this? I don't know. So if not now, then when? I don't know.
So, TJ, if they lost in the first round, would you be the first person to pull the guillotine?
Okay, if it's the first round and it's a 4-13, I'm over it. I'm done. I've had it because it's not going to happen. Not going to happen. Yeah. First round.
Hey, Robbie and Dusty, imagine our teams losing the first round to a lesser opponent.
Not my team. Not my team. No way.
Imagine that.
No.
Yeah.
So that Memphis lost to Samford in the first round, confirmed for 2025.
I'm done. I'm done.
Run the club. One of us.
That happened. Oh my gosh.
So
nightmare.
TJ, I want you to stick around and kind of hang out with us whenever you're ready to take off. You just let us know, though. But I want you to kind of be here as our fourth member of the D1 and Done pod, because I know you love college hoops as much as us. So we're gonna jump through on this rundown, talking about games from the past week, our top 25, some sidelines. I want us to pick out a mid-major team that could win a game in March. And maybe this is an opportunity for all of you, because we're going to have I think we're going to have more people that are going to be coming in on what we're doing now, because, again, football's over. So let's get some more hoops fans that are ready to kind of find some sleepers or some teams that you want to keep an eye on come March. We'll have Bubble Watch, schedule to look forward to, locks, funnies, stories. We'll get to more of that stuff here a little bit later. So, but Nick, over to you. I want you to recap how Michigan State somehow managed to come back from a double-digit deficit, and then St. John's with, again, St. John's could make 1-3 in a game and still find a way to beat a really good team. They are impressive.
Yeah, Robbie, you mentioned it. Not second half. I guess St. John's is winning at halftime. But yeah, real quick, the scores again. St. John's beats UConn 68-62. Michigan State beats Oregon 86-74. Yeah, again, St. John's is down 14 with 10 minutes to play in the first half at UConn. Michigan State was down 14 at half against Oregon. Oregon hit 10 first half threes against them.
Can we say it? Oregon stinks. Oregon's not good.
They might miss the Big Ten tournament if they're not careful.
They're not any good. Like they're not a very good team, and they got I don't know what happened, but they got a ton of hype and they look good on paper, and it seems like they got the right pieces, but they're just not very good.
Yeah, they scored 24 second-half points against Sparty in the second half. St. John's only gave up 27 second-half points, so they just both locked down on defense. The two players of the game from each team, Jace Richardson got his first start of the year for Michigan State. He scored 29 points, which, fun fact, his father, Jason Richardson, never scored 29 points in the game.
Ooh.
25, I believe, is his career high I saw.
Okay.
So shout out Jace, which, by the way, now Izzo has an interesting decision, like, is Fears going to keep starting over him now? Are they going to try starting both?
Question.
The Iz zone will have to make a decision there. And then R.J. Lewis hit the game-winning shot, scored 21 against St. John's. Patino had an interesting quip after the game. Apparently, they run the same inbounds plays all year, and they knew UConn knew they were going to do that. So the game-winning shot Lewis hit, they switched what they did at the last second.
That's why he got so open.
Yeah. So
interesting.
He said they knew we were going to do, so they not – switch it all season until that very moment. So,
okay,
former Kentucky great, shout out. And shout out Izzo Patino. Honestly, I was thinking about this today.
The old guard.
The old guard. No, he's not won a second weekend game since 2019. Does anyone know the last time Rick Pitino won a second weekend game? Any guesses how long it's been?
Boy.
When he won his natty?
When the last time he won a Sweet 16/Elite Eight game or further.
Oh yeah, that's what I was saying. When they won the national championship.
Gotta be the local team.
I was gonna say
close.
So I was gonna say 14.
Yep, 2014-15 they lost in Elite Eight to Michigan. So I guess the Sweet 16 prior, the Sweet 16 game in 2015. Yeah. So we're going on a decade now. So
wow.
The old men are back. We're back, baby. So shout Izzo and Patino for the two big wins.
10 years and 10 seconds.
Can I make a comparison? I don't even know if this is right, but St. John's has a feel for me when I watch them. They feel like 21 Baylor. Where they maybe not as good of an offensive team, but defensively they are a nightmare because they switch everything and they can guard everything and they keep everything in front of you. And if you somehow get to the rim, no chance. Like they give me that feeling.
That Baylor basketball was so good.
I know. They were so freaking good. And that's why I'm like, they're not at that level, but they just give me those Baylor 21 vibes where, gosh dang, they are a bunch of tons, like just tough SOBs that they don't care if they only shoot 1-3 a game. They're going to go find a way to win it, and they're going to grind you to a pulp when they do it.
Are Scott Drew and Rick Pitino, could they be two more different people than that?
Yeah. Very much so. So, but Are you
saying that Scott Drew's absent?
I do not know about the sexual patterns of Scott Drew. I want that on the record.
I'm glad we're aware of that.
Mm-hmm.
But so one of us, by the way, put St. John's in his top 4.
Woo!
That would be Dusty Mills voting St. John's.
There we go, Dusty.
In the top 4, which again, I don't hate it. They've got the wins to back it up and the winning streak to do it. You go on the road and you fall behind double digits and find a way to win at UConn. I don't care how good UConn is, and they got Liam McNeely back, so that was very impressive that St. John's was able to do that. I've got 2 games I want to focus on as well. Speaking of, I feel like Oregon was on fraud watch for a little bit. I think Oregon is full on fraud. I think we need to put Marquette on fraud watch because Marquette just, I don't know what's going on. Something's not adding up with this team. They are too good, too talented, and too just crazy athletic to be losing to a team like Creighton. And I know Cam Jones went off and David Joplin went off, but they're getting nothing from Ben Gold. Chase Ross was a no-show in that game against Creighton. I have significant concerns about Marquette going forward right now. They're starting to feel like the past Shaka Smart teams that you fell in love with and they found a way for you to not trust them towards the end. TJ, thoughts?
Well, I mean, 3 losses in a row isn't going to instill confidence in anybody.
No, of course not. But it's the way they're losing. Like
it's not good.
They're not running any offensive sets. It is all either Cam Jones, Chase Ross downhill and then kick out for shots. They seem so fragmented right now.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because at the beginning of the year you're watching them and the offense just looks so much smoother. They all kind of look like they figured out what they wanted to do, and now they've reached this point where they really don't know what they want to do. Things just don't work as well, and that's what happens when you lose 3 games in a row. Something is wrong, and it's weird because usually this kind of thing like happens in the tournament just miraculously. It's like, oh, hey, here's Marquette. This is a year. Or with Shaka Smart. I mean, this is a year, and then they fall flat on their face. Last year they kind of figured it out a little bit, and then they ran into UConn in the NCAA tournament. But still, did I get that right? No,
they ran into NC State. They ran into NC State.
That's right. I was looking the wrong thing. They beat Colorado, so they did move on.
Right.
Then they ran into NC State. Yeah. So I don't know. I don't know what it is with his teams, man, where they just run into these periods where all of a sudden things just stop working. Fortunately, it's the early-ish mid-February. Has some time to figure it out. It's better than this in March in some neutral site first-round game. But it just doesn't look good right now. And I don't know, even if they kind of show that they're turning things around, now it's in the back of your head, well, what's going to happen? Can all of the things go off the rails and it'd be a one and done again?
Well, it's fast. It doesn't make any sense where they live off creating turnovers. So they created 25 turnovers against UConn and still lost. Then they only create 8 turnovers against Creighton and they still lose. Like I don't understand. I can't understand what they're doing. Like it does not make any sense because when I saw them just absolutely look so impressive against Purdue back in November, and I was like, this looks like a different Marquette team. This looks like the Marquette team that I think we all expected Shaka Smart's teams to look like when he's there. And now they're reverting back to, okay, here's another Marquette team that's going to win 1 game and lose in the round of 32.
Well, let's give Creighton a little credit. They're not terrible.
No. We're not a give Creighton credit pod. I mean, Dusty here is he's the resident Creighton hater.
Not anymore. National champs, baby, this year.
Oh!
Freaking love Creighton.
Whoa!
Send it in, Jerome! Sarcasm.
So,
Kalkbrenner.
I mean,
MOP.
Stephen Ashworth was great. Jemiah Neal's been really good. And obviously, Kalkbrenner is he's going to take care of anything that gets to the rim. So
he's a caulk.
Yes. So there's
9 in a row. They won at UConn. They're not bad.
no, they're a good team. They're my top 20.
In the Big East, right? 10-2, I believe.
Just part of me just doesn't believe Creighton is actually really that good.
11-2 now.
Just seeing them on paper, like this team is win 9 straight. What?
Have you seen their next 2 games? We'll find out more. They got UConn at home
yeah.
and at the Garden, I believe, against St. John's on Sunday.
Okay, yeah, that's going to be fun. All right. So
you can revisit in 2 weeks or next week.
My other team I want to put on fraud watch, Kansas. I don't.
Are they even good enough anymore to be frauds?
Honestly, that was my game I wanted to break down. Was Kansas State.
Okay, and I will. Yeah, Dusty.
No, we can talk about it together.
Okay, so we'll talk about this together. So, 81-73, Kansas loses in Manhattan to Kansas State. My Kansas State Wildcats, which they are looking great right now, and finally, they're letting Doug McDaniel take this team, which I said from the beginning of the season, that's the dude that you need to let him run the team, and they're going to be better from it. Jerome Tang, hire me as an assistant coach, because look what's happening. But I am like... Again, Kansas reminds me so much of Marquette because they're so talented, but what is not working for this team? Everything should mesh. Even A.J. Storr played okay on Saturday, but still, it's like not everyone can play well on the same night. Shaquille Moore was doing great for them 2 weeks ago. Now he's not starting, and he's a mess. Rylan Griffin is all over the place. He can't be a consistent three-point shooter. This Kansas team just is breaking my brain.
Well, and DeJuan Harris, honestly, he's the player that I thought he was last year.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, he's unreliable. He got 2,000 early in the first half. And also, I saw that Kansas has not won consecutive games in over a month and a half.
Wow.
So how do you put that together in March? I mean, that's got to be an issue.
Yeah. It's all kind of lining up that way. And I picked Kansas to win the national championship this year. I mean, I think... Can we all still agree that on paper at the beginning of the season they were the most talented team in the country going into the year?
Yeah, they're almost a unanimous number one. I had Bama number one, but I was like by far a minority. Yeah. You know what's weird about Kansas? The computer numbers still love them. That's what's really weird about them.
Which makes no sense. Like,
yeah,
they're not a great defensive team. So how is Ken Pom still put them inside the top 20 in defensive efficiency? And even offensively, they're above average offensively.
Rob, you want to hear a fun computer stat about Kansas State?
Yes, I do.
So Bartovic, I think I'm saying it right. It's a site. It's all efficiency-based analytics. Since January 25th, when Kansas State's 5-game winning streak started, they rank number one in the nation at Bartovic since January 25th. So good call, Robbie.
Here we go.
Good call, Robbie.
Here we go. They were on my final 4+1. I was saying, let's also get real here. I mean, I'll quickly pull up Bracket Matrix. They're not in anyone's bracket right now, so they still have a long way to go.
They have 2 quad 3 losses and are 12-11.
Yeah.
They got some.
They got some work to do. But again, this was the team I envisioned. This was what I was expecting Kansas State to look like because they had the talent. You had the guard play, Marquise Noel, Doug McDaniel. They put them in the same position and let him go. And sure enough, this is kind of what's happening. So I'm glad I'm not a complete idiot and something at least falls into place where it looks right for Kansas State. So that's good at least. So those are our games that we wanted to recap. Anything else I'm missing from the past week? TJ, anything else that you wanted to mention?
No, but I'm just looking at the Kansas State losses, and it's
it's not great. It's not great.
There's some rough ones in there. Oh, that's rough. Wichita, Drake. Liberty's not terrible.
Liberty's okay. Wichita State's the worst one.
Up, though. They all just stack up together.
Yeah, Wichita State's the worst one.
Not only was it Wichita, it was 84-65 Wichita.
Yeah.
They lost LSU at home, too, which LSU still.
Yeah, LSU, no, they're not good either. Oh, this is
But you get Arizona at home coming up Tuesday night.
Oh, Robbie, look at him. He's talking himself into it.
But shout out Mississippi Valley State only losing by 18 to them on the road.
Have you seen Mississippi Valley State's Twitter account? This is off topic.
No,
So
I
whoever runs their Twitter account is just
funny.
a true comedian. Like it's like finals. At some point, there was one tweet they had from earlier this year. Final score: the other team scored more, and that's all they put on the tweet. Which was
You're right,
great.
Rob. They should have been the funnies
Oh,
already.
here's one. Here's one from the 8th. Final score can be found elsewhere.
Exactly. See, that's fun stuff. Like whoever is their SID that's running the Twitter account, I respect that. Like it's SWAC basketball. Make it fun and make it weird. Let's get
I
fun.
think it's the announcers that they have. Maybe they're running it. 'Cause the announcers are
perhaps.
Actually
Yes.
affiliated with the school, or is it just some pair? Like, is it like?
I'm
on
pretty
its
sure
own thing?
those. I'm pretty sure those are like students that are like they're student
Yeah.
announcers. If I'm not
I think
mistaken.
so.
Yeah. So that's great point. I didn't think about that. Let's get to our top 25 polls, and I'll run through the top 25 that we have right now. We'll talk about our top 25, and then here's the AP top 25. So Auburn remains at number 1, as we mentioned. Alabama will be number 2. So do not adjust your TV sets. That is one Auburn, 2 Alabama not playing football. Duke fell to 3. Florida is tied with Duke at 3 in the AP poll. Tennessee got a first place vote. They're at 5. Houston 6. Purdue State at 7. A&M is up to 8. St. John's up to 9. And we go to Iowa State, Michigan State, Texas Tech. Arizona was the big leaper. They went up 7 spots to 13. TJ Werre's Memphis Tigers at 14. Kentucky fell to 15. Wisconsin up 5 spots to 16. Marquette fell 7 spots to 18. Ole Miss went up 6 to 19. Michigan, I don't know how they went up 4 spots, but they're up 4 spots to 20. And anything else that stands? Well, the only other thing that stands out was the fact that New Mexico is still not in the top 25, which still does not make sense to me because I think they're a top 25 team. Maryland fell 7 spots. UCLA probably should be in the top 25 this week. I know there's only 25 spots, so you kind of just run out of room. But anything else? Yeah, anything else stand out from this week's AP top 25? Dusty?
So not AP. I do think the coaches poll is probably usually pretty. Shut up, Nick. Pretty lazy.
Yeah, that's what the AP poll said. Nah, we're still
No.
I found it interesting though that the coaches poll does have the top 4 teams, all SEC teams.
Yeah.
And as much as I think the coaches are lazy with voting, the fact that they think the top 4 teams are all SEC teams, that you're talking about them being the 4-1 seeds, I just found that interesting.
Well, fun fact, and TJ knows this from covering college sports. It's not the coaches actually voting on that; it's the SIDs.
Yeah.
Well aware.
across the board, really. Like, there's
Yeah.
not.
Oh, none of the coaches
Yeah,
do
the
it. No.
coaches aren't wasting their time with this. No.
No. So it's just they call it the coaches poll to give it some sort of standing, but it's SIDs that are voting in the poll. So,
Robbie, did you ever get to do the AP basketball vote?
I did
Did you ever
not.
get to do that?
I did
Okay,
not.
I got
wish
to do
I
it
did.
a couple times, and it was the hardest thing I've ever done.
Yeah.
Because and basketball is so hard. It's not like football. I never got to do football where it's just like 1 weekend of games. I mean, some teams are, they're playing 2 times a week. You're trying to balance who beat who lost to who,
It's tough,
and
yeah.
you're trying to justify it. No fan base is going to be happy. There's a poll tracker. They put all the polls on there. They
We know
put your
nothing
name on
about
there.
pissed off about your rankings, so
Yeah.
it's never happened.
Yeah, we never
your-
make anyone mad about rankings. Yeah.
They put your name on there. People are messaging you on Twitter. Why didn't you do this? Why you do that? Like, bro, this is the most inexact science there is. You're never going to make anyone happy. Just when you think you have the perfect poll, nothing.
Right.
Although, TJ, I do want to know who did not vote Ichiro into the Hall of Fame this year.
Wasn't me.
Did,
crazy.
Did you have a Heisman vote? I had a Heisman vote.
I did.
Okay.
And I did that a couple of times too.
Yeah, that was pretty cool to be able to say.
Wait, who'd you vote for? That's good knowledge to know. I don't care about Robbie. TJ, who'd you vote for?
There was Lamar Jackson, and then I had
Was that the Christian McCaffrey year? I can't remember.
That was Deshaun Watson who came in second that
Rusty's
year.
boy.
Okay. So I remember I voted.
I had 2. I can't remember what the other one was. Was it Baker?
My favorite one was. Is he not even on there? Let me see. Hold on.
Wait, never mind. You answered it.
There was one year where I got a lot of flack for. Yeah, I'm one of the 13. I got a lot of flack for voting Dak Prescott third on my Heisman ballot, but that was in 2014, and I was one of 13 Heisman voters that gave Dak Prescott a third place vote. So,
I mean, I didn't have a problem with it with what he did with State.
No.
I mean, that third place is inconsequential anyway.
Right.
It doesn't matter.
It is. It's pretty cool to say that. Yeah, I helped decide who won the Heisman Trophy. Like that was pretty cool.
Yeah,
It mattered to Robbie, TJ. That's all that matters.
What'd you say?
Mattered to Robbie.
Yeah, Baker. It was Baker, and I got Lamar and Baker, and I voted for Baker in 2017.
Do you want to talk 2025 Heisman odds while we're on the topic?
I don't even know who it's going to be, to be honest with
I
you.
don't
I
either.
think Nussmeier's betting favorite, oddly enough.
No chance, Garrett Nussmeier. Okay, anyway, let's get back to let's get back to college basketball.
Anyway.
So the big story over the last week, I guess you could say, and we talked about it on Check Please on Thursday, was Mike Woodson and his ousting from Indiana University. Basically said, in not so uncertain terms, that he's retiring at the end of the year. So IU can begin the vetting process of trying to find their next head basketball coach. It was very ironic that on that same time, on this past weekend, Dusty May in Michigan show up. Dusty May, the head coach of the Michigan Wolverines. And before we talk about IU coaching search, I wanted to get, and you guys won't be able to hear this, but I want to play the sound of Dusty May was asked on potential interest in the Indiana opening, and this was his horrifically bad answer that's going to give a lot of hope to IU fans.
Dusty, many of these Indiana fans have made it clear they'd like you maybe as their next head coach. Would you have any interest in the job?
I mean, first of all, it's flattering when you have the path that I had and have. I'm still on that same path. It's it makes you feel good because what's your competitive advantage as a student manager that transferred in as a marginal Division II player, and you just think back and it's like, man, you really, all I did was show up with great energy and passion for this game and helping people every day, and because of that, I think people always saw something or believed in me, and then you get to this point. But that stuff's crazy. I mean, I love being at Michigan. I love our team. We're fighting like crazy. That's it. I mean, this place is my foundation, but I'm very, very happy at the University of Michigan. Came here to win a game, and mission accomplished.
Do you have any message to Michigan fans that might be worried right now?
I mean, there's nothing I can say that's going to make this one way or the other. I love being at Michigan. That hasn't crossed my mind other than just what friends and family said, and to be honest, I've eliminated all that. So
that stuff's crazy. I love being at Michigan. I love our team. Indiana is my foundation, but I'm very happy at the University of Michigan. And then they go on to follow-up question to ask him, what do you say to Michigan fans that are worried? And he says, I don't think there's anything I can say to help that. I mean, I know every coach has to play the non-answer game in that situation, but my gosh, that's one of the worst non-answers I've ever heard from a coach that needed to deny having any interest in the job when it sounds like, okay, he might be interested in the job, or he could potentially use this as leverage. Now, TJ, we've interviewed coaches who've been in this exact situation a number of times. Where do you, after listening to that, I guess, in what I've passed along to you, where do you think that we stand on that front?
Man, it's such an impossible question to answer. Like, obviously he's going to be thinking about it, but he can't say that he's thinking about it.
Yeah.
The first answer was fine. It's then when you get to the follow-up, then when he has to start, the hamster wheel is turning, he's trying to figure out something else to say to affirm what he just said without saying absolutely no to Indiana. I always felt bad for those coaches in that situation, because even if they flat out say no, and then if something happens, like, well, you were lying, a.k.a. John Calipari, I want to be in Memphis.
Okay.
Like, oh yeah.
It always comes back to Calipari.
Shout Saban with the Alabama job too. That was another famous one. That was hilarious.
So obviously, we'll get into kind of who are the realistic options for IU. But Eric Bossi, who covers college basketball and recruiting, his quote, which I think is a bit outlandish: "Indiana's opening will be the most coveted position in the coaching carousel." so coveted. Their last 3 hires were Tom Crean, Archie Miller, and Mike Woodson. So I don't know if that's completely true. But
okay,
like,
fans.
okay,
It's gonna be the most. All the job openings, that's gonna be the most coveted one. I don't think that's a far-fetched statement. No.
If I will be completely honest, and this is not me as a Purdue fan, I would be terrified to take that job unless you want to live off a buyout, because you've got to get the perfect guy in that situation. And it takes the perfect person that can play all the sides, whether it's with the alumni base, the boosters, the players, NIL, the board of trustees, any of the other big schmoozers you got to go for. It feels like you are set up to lose if you don't have the right mindset as a head coach at Indiana University.
And what's the expectation for the new coach? What is the expectation for Indiana? Like,
yeah,
are you like Final Four or bust? Are you just get us to the tournament and maybe win a couple games? What is the expectation? Because the bar is very low right now.
And that's the problem. So here's the problem that IU is facing. And again, this is from someone who talks to IU. I have many IU friends. I know I'm going to sound like I'm a big deal. I got a bunch of IU friends, but I think the realistic IU fan, which I think there's not many of them, but I actually talked to one yesterday who said, you still got to call Brad Stevens and make him say no. I agree. He's going to say no. Brad Stevens is not realistic. In terms of expectations, he said, and I agree with him, I was like, the problem that IU has is you have the big money donors and all the fans that are expecting to relive the glory years of playing for national championships. And you can't do that right off the bat. That is an unfair start for anyone just jumping in, especially with IU's history over the last 20 years, where they have not gotten past a Sweet 16. You need to be more realistic with your expectations. For me, start off, find a way to get to the second weekend. They have struggled to do that. If you can focus on doing that, that's going to make the process so much more manageable for any coach coming in there. If you automatically say, oh, banners, we're playing for national championships at IU or Blue Blood, you're set up to fail. You need to be realistic with your expectations. And if they do that, they can get back to the success of being a Final Four team. They have the funds. They have the resources. They have a alumni base that is desperate for a winner. They can do it. It can happen, but you have to be realistic, and I don't think that's possible for some of the people that are making the big decisions at Indiana University.
And that's fair, but also, too, I think there's a good... Okay, because they're not running out Woodson and Archie for losing the round 32 every year. Like, they've won one tournament game since 2017.
And that was last year, wasn't it? Or 2 years ago?
The Trace Jackson
Davis team, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So to me, I do think they get a guy in and they do make the tournament and lose in round 32 the first couple years. I like to think they'll be somewhat reasonable about it. But again, it's been so long since we've seen them have any sort of consistent. I'm not saying it'll be like that for 6 years. I think if they can just find someone that can at least just like break through, just like the round 32. But I don't know, man. Like you said, because again, the way they've handled all this is poorly. By the way, the way they announced it before this, like this week before the game. And did you see Woodson? They said they told reporters to not ask him at all about his retirement.
They didn't make him available for media at all after the Michigan game.
That's crazy. And that's like, I think it makes Woodson look bad too. Like I think it's another issue. They just don't seem they ever handle anything correctly at all at the top.
So if you're a coach, why do you subject yourself to that? What? It's just like. And not to say,
hold on, where's my cash register? Cha-ching. That's all it is. Right. That's really it.
But like, more money, more problems, Robbie. Like,
I know.
You get into that, and it's just you set yourself.
So I was going to say.
Go ahead.
Sorry, I was going to say I've thought about more. It's kind of like to me with all the stuff going down. It's almost like being like the Cowboys coach.
Mm-hmm.
Like, why do you want to deal with Jerry Jones all the time?
Mm-hmm.
You have all this pressure. You have this fan base that has unrealistic expectations. You have just a program or a school that thinks it's the 1980s, and they've been to a Final Four in 23 years. And coming from someone who, Nick and I, our mom's side of the family is all IU. I got my graduate degree at IU. I do somewhat have a thing for. I will always say this. I don't want to see IU win a national title. I'll be blunt about that. I do like when they're good. I think it's fun. And I like to see my mom happy and my late grandpa when he was happy. I like seeing them cheering their butts off for IU. But it is an unrealistic thing, and they're just so stuck in the past. I'm 36. It's been my entire lifetime. They've not been good besides one run by Mike.
And we've said it before on this show, and I have said it. If you go back to recruiting
Sorry, Joe Steele. Keep going, Rob.
If you go back to recruiting the state of Indiana and finding the best players in the state of Indiana, get those guys to build around your program. I'm not saying that those need to be your best players, but there's a reason why some of the best high school basketball players come from the state of Indiana. And if you go back to that mindset, instead of just trying to go out and pay for the $2 million for a guy that's going to average 18 and 10 but not really care about the program, that is when IU will find a way to make it back. Because right now, it seems like the only guys that really care about being out there are Trey Galloway and Luke Goody.
Can we get something off the board, by the way?
Sure.
IU fans that listen to the show, you're not getting Brad Stevens.
Yeah, it's not going to.
So quit wishing for that. He likes to spend his summers at Lake Wawasee. This is knowledge from someone who knows it. You're not getting Brad Stevens, so get off that horse.
So okay, let's
make that clear.
And so, who is a realistic? Is Scott Drew a realistic name?
He did say no to Kentucky and Louisville last year, which I know is Indiana ties, but does he really he went to high school in Indiana all those years ago? Is that really the only connection? Because I know also his brother played at Valpo, his father coached at Valpo.
Yeah, did he go to Valpo? I honestly don't know.
I can't remember.
Maybe he did then as well.
So
I really don't know.
Yeah, he went to Valpo.
Okay, so it comes back. So from connecting the dots a little, it sounds like he wants to get back to Indiana, and he wants to be in that position. So that makes sense. I think the most realistic name and the guy that can get it jump started immediately is Chris Beard. And from all accounts, that one makes the most sense and seems the most realistic.
I agree, Robbie. And can I throw another name no one's really thrown out? Shout out Corby Mertens for pointing this out to me. Do you know Bill Brownwell's from Indiana?
You mean Brad Brownell?
Yeah, thank you. I completely just botched that. I can find Bill Belichick with this name right there. I think it's right.
Did not hold on.
No,
this whole time,
Bill Belichick.
Yeah, he's from Evansville.
He played at DePaul.
Yeah, so maybe that's because again he's made Clemson a consistent win, Clemson basketball. So I don't think that's a terrible.
That honestly, I mean, look, Mick Cronin, I think would be a terrible hire. I think he's a good coach. His teams have a ceiling, and I don't think he's going to play nice with some of the alumni that are at IU. You need to have that kind of a coach.
You know, it'd be amazing.
We're opposites on that one, Robbie.
Okay,
I'm just trying to be funny with this one.
It's Mitch Cronin. Who cares?
I'm just trying to be funny with this one, but you know, it'd be so funny if Patino went to IU.
And why not?
Or Cal.
Why
or Cal.
not?
Or Cal.
No, I'm serious. And we talked about this last night with my friend who's a big IU fan. Why not go after Rick Pitino? Seriously, why not? That's another almost that it makes too much sense. He's a guy that can talk the skin off a cat. He's a phenomenal coach. How does that not why not Rick Pitino? I don't care how old he is. He's made St. John's relevant.
I would say the only thing of Pitino is for him personally. I think he just is probably happy in New York.
Possibly, yeah.
And wants to stay there. I mean, it's home for him, and why not?
Find you have all this money. You go pay him $10 million a year and go bring him in. Why
Pitino,
not?
go to sports on a Saturday night and maybe.
One more name. How about Altoberger, Iowa State?
They missed him last year. They needed to sign him last year. He's got a massive buyout now. So
never mind.
And has he ever missed
arms day? I wonder if he's missed leg day.
I was trying to say leg day.
Yeah. Has TJ Altoberger missed leg day? All right. Before we move on, I want to cut TJ loose. TJ, anything else that we can leave you with then?
No, just
Well, wait, no. TJ, lock of the week.
Oh yeah, give us a lock of the week.
Lock of the week. Give me, man, I gotta y'all talk for a second.
TJ, I've been
Come on.
Filibuster.
I'm going to pick it. Robbie tells me to pick one, so just go with it.
So I guess while he's finding his lock of the week before we turn him loose, do you want to tell the New Orleans story?
Ooh.
Oh, so TJ. So obviously Robbie and I grew up together.
Okay, because that was my first SEC tournament too.
Oh.
No kidding.
Yeah, it was both of our first SEC tournaments. That's when we first met each other. Was actually in New Orleans.
You guys' first times in New Orleans together? That's
I know.
fun.
Isn't that cute?
Oh, did you guys make out? You can cut that if you want. So TJ, so Robbie and I again grew up together. I mean, I heard Robbie sing choir at the church back in the day.
Oh yeah.
Played basketball our entire lives together, and he knew that my dad and I started going to the SEC tournament in 2005. I think it was 5. Wait, no, Florida won in 2006. So 2004 was our first SEC tournament. So Robbie knew that we'd been going to this, and obviously he goes to down to Mississippi and becomes the king of sports down there. And so he texts me because he had to go on Thursday. Wasn't it No, it was Wednesday.
I went down Wednesday.
That
Yeah.
was Wednesday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he texted me on Wednesday, and he was sleeping in the WCBI car in the parking lot. And he's like, "Hey, is there any chance like I can stay with you guys?" And he didn't want to intrude. And our families have known each other forever. And so I tell my dad, I was like, "Hey, Robbie, Robbie needs somewhere to stay." He's like, "Well, obviously he can stay in our room if he wants to." And so Robbie ended up. Didn't you sleep with David Charles like in the bed?
I believe so.
Sorry,
Yes.
that's poorly worded. He had to stay with a family friend, David Charles.
Yes.
Because that was the same SEC tournament where Nick and I slept in the same bed, and I woke up wearing Nick's shorts.
That's a true story, by the way. He's not being facetious. He woke up with my shorts on.
Yeah, so my dad was. Yeah, so Robbie ended up staying in the other room that we had at the SEC tournament at the Hyatt the same weekend that we saw Kanye West and
Woohoo!
Seal. You guys saw Seal, and I didn't.
Seal. We had drinks with Seal.
Yeah, you had drinks with Seal.
Wow.
It was an amazing weekend. But yeah, that was Robbie's first SEC tournament. But he did have a room. He had a bed to sleep in.
I was prepared to hoof it. I had to.
Okay. Okay. So on that note, that is the most local TV story I have ever heard.
Yes.
There was one time before I get to my lock, I found one. I went to the Gator Bowl, one of my first years.
That's Orlando, right?
Jacksonville.
I'm passionate. Like, I'm go get it. Like, we got to be everywhere. And I was really mad because they wouldn't send us to the Gator Bowl because we had been doing all these things. So, like, we have to go to the bowl game. So I drove overnight from Jackson to Jacksonville, about 10 hours. And I don't know if you've ever driven the Florida Panhandle before, but
I have not.
It is awfully boring. Like driving through Mississippi and then driving the Florida Panhandle are two of the most boring things you can experience, I think, because it's just trees and exits, and that's it. So I got there. I might have slept like 40 minutes at a Pilot gas station on the way to Jacksonville because I wanted to make it for the parade and do all the things. And I ended up bumming in a longtime family friend's house because they wouldn't pay for a hotel. They said, "Okay, we'll give you the gas, but you gotta find a place to stay." I'm like, "Okay." So that was one of my, most local TV things ever. Yeah, you're crazy. We just did what we had to do.
We're crazy.
Just crazy.
I'll throw one more of those in there. I covered the Sugar Bowl in 2013 when that was Derrick Henry's kind of coming out party when they played Oklahoma, and the game ended at 1 a.m. and I didn't have a place to stay in New Orleans. So I was like, well, I guess I'm just going to drive back to Mississippi. So at 1 a.m., I drove all the way from New Orleans to Columbus, Mississippi, got home at 6 a.m., and I did not sleep. It was brutal.
Yep, that sounds about right.
Yep.
Belldozer in that game. Blake Bell.
Yes, Blake Bell was in that game too. So that was the Colton Bester game with Trevor Knight back in the day. So, but
Trevor Knight. That's all thing. Not Blake Bell.
Yeah, Trevor Knight. Yeah, Blake Bell. Yeah, sorry. But okay, TJ.
Wait. Last thing for TJ.
Oh boy,
TJ, you have to hear this since you're on right now.
Okay.
One of the funniest things ever is SEC tournament in Nashville. Robbie had to go work, and we have a crew. It's usually around anywhere from like 8 to 15 guys now. It's kind of like a, annual bachelor party. And Robbie had to go do the cover the game. He gets in the WCBI car, which is the smallest freaking car.
Yes, they're like clown cars.
Those dumb Nissan Versas, yeah.
Well, I say that until Robbie got his. What do you drive now? What the hell is it?
I drive a Toyota Prius.
Yeah, his Prius. That's even smaller somehow.
Yeah.
But he just whipping by us as we're walking to the stadium, and you just hear this like spear sings just. and one of the dads with us said, "What the hell is that?"
That's me. I'm convinced that they never worked on those cars. They just drove them until they fell.
Oh
apart.
yeah, no. Oil changes are 10,000 miles overdue.
Yeah.
Like death traps.
No chance.
Hey, was that the one where Marshall Henderson? Did they win that one? Was it that one?
2013.
I think that was the year after that.
Oh well, whatever. Long live Marshall Henderson and the Gator
That
Chomp.
was still.
Just right. It was right in front of me. I'm sitting on press row, and he does. It was the greatest thing ever. Here's the lock: Alabama over Auburn on Saturday.
Whoa!
Hey! Even though I just said Auburn's the team, lock it in, Alabama.
Love it. TJ Werre, you are a national treasure, my friend. We appreciate the time. Thanks for joining us. And go Tigers, and we'll have to have you on another time.
Hey, man. Guys, I really appreciate it. Thanks a lot. This was a lot of fun. All right, boys. See you later.
See you, TJ.
Ciao, pal.
That is
Go Tigers.
TJ Werre, former WJTV Sports Director and Memphis graduate. We appreciate the time that he gave us. And, again, loves college hoops. And we could go stories on stories on stories from all of our time covering sports in Mississippi. So it was great to kind of scratch the surface on that front. All right, other sidelines that we want to get to. I'll mention this real quick, and then we'll jump into it. Was it not great to have Dick Vitale back on the sideline? Like, it was like you could just the warmth that you've just felt watching that game and seeing a man who has fought his behind off to get back to that position, and he genuinely loves college basketball. You could see it and you feel it. That was awesome, and to be a part of that game where Clemson comes back and beats Duke was awesome. Court storming, just awesome. Which, by the way, can we? We'll talk about another pod. Court stormings, I love them. We need to do a better job about policing them. Iowa
They can't turn off the lights. They can't turn off the lights when people watch the court.
Stop doing that.
That's insane.
That's too scary for me. And then all the students running after Cooper Flagg with the phones in his face, trying that's stupid. That's dumb. Don't do that. Okay, moving on. Iowa State gets Milan Momcilovic back. Cyclones might be good again. They scored over 80 as they crushed TCU, so maybe some things are moving in the right direction. Sparty has that explosion in the second half. We already talked about Oregon sucking. St. John's looking great. That Wade Taylor winner at Missouri was just dead eye. Wisconsin's now 11-2 in their last 13. We need to start talking about how the Badgers actually might be a good team.
Agreed, Robbie. Agreed.
Crazy comeback by Ole Miss, somehow winning that game against LSU. I don't know how they did that.
They're down 13 with 2.5 to play in one, or 11, whatever it was. Double digits, 2.5 to play. It was double digits.
The Mountain West, Atlantic 10, Ivy League, and West Coast conferences are just an absolute delight to keep track of. They are out of control fun. New Mexico ahead in the Mountain West. A-10 is VCU's to win. The Ivy League has been fantastic. St. Mary's looks like they're running away in the West Coast, but not so fast because San Francisco threw a wrench into things, so that could get weird. The Big West, I'm going to keep pushing for it. The Big West should get 2 teams in, UC Irvine and anyone else, whether that be UC Riverside or it's one of the other big teams from that conference. And let's also mention, we didn't get a chance to talk Kentucky, but Nick, how great was it having Lamont Butler back out on the floor? Because that seemed like, even though he didn't put up a bunch of stats, his presence just seemed to settle things down for this team.
Yep, it's pretty simple. Their defense looks so much better with him. Granted, South Carolina is not exactly world beaters, but their defense was so bad. It was so nice to play just competent defense versus anyone. Got to start somewhere, Robbie. Got to start somewhere. It was nice to have a no-sweat game for the first time really all year.
And that one game alone just put Kentucky inside of the top 100 in defensive efficiency.
Which just shows their defense was so bad. If they played just a half-decent defensive game, they could jump so much.
That's all you need. All right, before we jump into Bubble Watch, I want us to give an opportunity for you to find some sleepers in March. We're going to call this segment Radar Lock, where we are locking in on a team that might be off of the radar that you should keep an eye on. Nick, I mentioned them briefly, but the Atlantic 10 and VCU, I think that's a team that you nailed in on.
Yeah, so early in the year, I ranked them top 25 at one point. I've been Believer's team all year. A little bit of a rough November, but since we've gone to the year of our Lord 2025, the Rams have been playing good ball. They are, first of all, they're 19-5 overall, 9-2 in the A10, 9-1 this year. And their only loss is when a fight happened in the stands. So really, I don't know how you can count that. They're 9-0 this year.
Doesn't count.
They have 4 legit scores. I love Max Shulga. They just won at Dayton over the weekend. The VCU Rams are ramming it in. Especially, again, I just mentioned Dayton, the way they've been playing. St. Bonaventure's just falling off the cliff. Woj is losing to Shams and on the court now. Shout out VCU. I think they're the best team A10. Shout out my Rams. It's kind of like my mini Kansas State, Robbie.
Yes.
They never hit those lows by any means, but shout out to them.
We're not going to talk about Cincinnati. No talk about the Bearcats.
Hey,
I know they're winning. I know they're winning now. Dusty basically was the kiss of death for the Bonnies. My gosh. I mean, ever since Dusty ranked St. Bonaventure, they've fallen off a cliff. I will continue to maintain Drake. They are a scary team because they're so difficult to prepare for offensively. It is 5-out motion. Everyone's running around off of screens, zoom action, dribble handoff, whatever it may be. Drake is going to be a nightmare for someone to play. If they have any kind of a semblance of a decent shooting game from 3, they can beat almost anyone. So if you get Drake in the first round, good luck. It's probably going to be a 7-10 game, and they're like the 10 or whatever it may be. I would be very scared to play Drake because that is a team that can win. Ben McCollum just comes over from D2 and starts winning immediately at the D1 level. Drake is no joke. I know he had a bad night last night, but Drake right now, this team does not play an A minor. They are an A major team, and they are legit. I love this Drake team. They've got so many guys that can score and shoot and play off the bounce. So, yes, love Drake. Dusty, your rate. Also, before we go to Dusty, I want to mention Southern is 10-0 in the SWAC right now. I know SWAC teams don't typically do well in the tournament, but they have been playing great when they got into conference play. So, anyway, Dusty, your radar lock team.
We'll see Southern on Tuesday probably, and hopefully they get a win. Tuesday at the tournament.
Like the first 4?
Oh, I got you. Okay.
Yeah. So I have 2 teams that I thought about today. One is San Francisco.
The Dons.
My only fear is the Dons don't get to the tournament because they probably have to win the conference tournament.
Right.
Malik Thomas is their stud, averaging, I just had pulled up a few minutes ago, I think 19 a game. 19.2 a game. Fun to watch, 47% from the field. I've been on them for 2 years now, so watch out for the Dons. And the other one is, we talked, Robbie, you bring them up all the time, McNeese.
Yeah.
I would not want to be I'm going to say a 4 seed playing them.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a scary team, and what's his name? So coaching there.
Will Wade, yeah. Sorry, let me say it right. Will Wade.
Future IU coach.
He would be perfect there. I said it last pod. He'd be great at IU.
I think it's a great call by you, Robbie.
I don't think they would ever.
And since I brought it up, he would love sports.
Yeah.
And for those that don't know, sports is a bar in Bloomington. So.
He would be there every night. Let's be honest. All right, Nick, pop some bubbles. Where are we at on Bubble Watch right now?
Yep, Robbie, we are February 10th. We are getting the bubbles. It is a bubbling. So
they're bubbling.
I'll try don't go too long here. I'll just run through them. So if you don't care about the bubble, go get bath and break in. Go rip a bong. Whatever you gotta do. In the meantime, I'll do a bubble watch. All right.
Don't rip the bong unless you're in a state that actually allows it, okay? Please do this responsibly.
Yes, whatever you do responsibly. Please, talking to you, Jake Mills. All right, last 5 teams in, according into the weekend. I guess how do I say it's the 5th to last team in. Vandy beat Texas over the weekend. Good. But coming up, Auburn and Tennessee next 2 games.
Oh, gosh. Okay.
Going. San Diego State lost to Colorado State on Saturday. Now they are firmly on the bubble. They still have Boise and Utah State down the road, but they can't really – they got to be careful at this point going forward. Yeah. Especially our Mountain West boys. They don't respect the Mountain West, so you can't lose to anyone.
Show some damn respect to the Mountain West. Gosh dang.
You know we're going to show respect to? Nebraska. They're the 3rd to last team in.
How are they back in it? They were dead 2 weeks ago. This is the softest bubble of all time if they're back in the conversation.
You know why, Rob? They've won 4 in a row, and now their schedule's softened up a little bit. So Maryland next game, obviously tough. Then after that, at Northwestern, at Penn State. So it's also kind of scary if you're on the bubble.
Can you believe Penn State is last in the Big Ten right now? Like
it's crazy.
They looked like world beaters 2 months ago when they beat Purdue, and now they can't beat anyone.
You couldn't have gotten them at a worse time. Truly.
It is what
Especially
it is.
you guys are still early in the year, too.
Yeah.
It's just a tough timing. Mm-hmm. The second last one, BYU 0-2 this week. Shout my Bearcats for not out. And the last team in is perfect. Wake Forest.
Come on, Wake. Come on, Wake. Put them in, baby.
2-0 in the week on the bubble every year. I love you, Steve Forbes. All right, Rob, you mentioned how soft the bubble is. Look at these teams that are the first teams out.
How is Arkansas? What are we doing?
Arkansas Razorbacks.
What are we doing?
The Cal Pals lost to Tide on Saturday.
Oh my gosh.
Big C has best game as a Razorback. It was not enough. But Arkansas's next 3. Home LSU, have to have it. No, obviously.
Yeah.
At A&M, at Auburn. So they can go 2-1 in that span.
I don't know, Jim.
And then this base is just ACC bubble watch the next couple teams. Pittsburgh's on an L3.
Get them out.
Including losing UNC on Saturday.
Get them out.
They play at SMU, who, speaking of which, is the 3rd team out.
Okay.
They're on a W4. And listen to the next 4 for SMU. Home Pitt, home Wake, at Notre Dame, home Clemson. So this is going to decide their season right here for SMU. UCF, don't tell them 1-6 for the last 7. They stink.
Get them out.
Iowa State Tuesday. Get them out. And then UNC, 1 at Pitt on Saturday.
Still get them out.
Tonight.
Still get them out.
I know. I feel like one of these ACC teams is going to get in. I hope it's Wake Forest because none of these other teams. SMU, I guess I don't mind. We'll find out.
Yeah.
UNC are just so uninspiring. Get them on my face. So to recap again for everyone real quick, last 5 teams in, Vanderbilt, San Diego State, Nebraska, BYU, Wake Forest. First teams out, Arkansas, Pitt, SMU, UCF, UNC.
So it is conceivable the ACC could only get 3 teams in. Duke, Louisville, Clemson.
Yeah, I think the over-under, will be 3.5. I think I'll take the under.
I think either Wake, SMU, or North Carolina, one of those 3 is going to get in, I think. I don't see how you keep one of those 3 out. You got to.
Because I think it's very likely, too, they all kind of beat each other, too, which really couldn't.
That, too. I mean, Wake does not have any great wins. They're 0-5 against the EP Top 25. It's just, they're in a tough spot. They could have really used that win over Duke at home. They're just, Wake doesn't have a great resume. North Carolina at least has some okay wins, but North Carolina has not looked like they have a pulse lately. I know they won at Pitt. They needed that win, but still, it just hasn't looked great.
And Crab, can you believe Arkansas is still alive in the tournament?
I still can't believe that.
I can't.
Well, yeah, because I spent a week in Lexington watching them stay alive. So
you gave them life. You did it. Your energy did it.
All right, that's my bubble watch for the peeps.
Nicely
February
done.
10th, boys. We're getting close.
We are indeed. Here's your upcoming schedule. As Nick alluded to tonight, North Carolina at Clemson. Boy, the Tar Heels, if they could find a way to get that one, that would be massive for them. The other good one tonight, though, is Baylor at Houston. Baylor is in the field, but could use a marquee win. That would be a massive one to help them on that front. Tuesday, tell your significant other I'm busy at 7 p.m. because you've got 4 games on 4 different sets to watch. Auburn at Vandy, Tennessee at Kentucky, Florida at Mississippi State, Purdue at Michigan. All of them 7 p.m. tip-off times. SEC, stagger your games. This is insane. We have 3 incredible games, and none of them start at different times. Come on, people. Makes no sense. Other games on Tuesday night. Iowa State at UCF. Toledo at Miami, Ohio is a good one in the MAC. Maybe the best one, the sneaky best one. Arizona at Kansas State, as we mentioned. If the Wildcats can get that one, it gets real weird real quick for Jerome Tang and K-State. UCLA goes to Illinois. The Bruins have been playing much better as of late. Getting a win in Champaign would be huge for them. George Mason's at St. Louis. IU goes to Michigan State. Again, the Hoosiers could mess around and find a way to win that game. I still don't. There's something about Michigan State that just doesn't fit for me. UConn is at Creighton. Boy, I mean, it could fall off real quick for UConn if they don't get this together. And then Colorado State's at Utah State out of the Mountain West. Wednesday games. St. John's at Villanova all of a sudden gets really fun. Robert Morris at Cleveland State. First place on the horizon could be on the line there. Chattanooga at Sanford. That's a big one in the SoCon. Your West Coast, East Coast showdown in the ACC. Cal at Duke. So stupid. Drake is at Illinois State. Thursday games. Not a bunch of marquee matchups here, but some good ones. Charleston is at UNC Wilmington. Omaha, if you don't know the story about Omaha, go watch their coach basically drop pounding a trash can after every win. It's awesome. They play at South Dakota State. Maryland is at Nebraska, as Nick alluded to, could be a big one for the Huskers. UC Santa Barbara goes to play UC Irvine. San Francisco, Dusty's Dons are at Gonzaga Thursday night. Friday, nuzzle up with your significant other and watch UCLA at Indiana. It's going to be a great one in Bloomington. Or you could see if Doug Gottlieb can finally get a win. He hosts Northern Kentucky. The Phoenix.
He'll be in the Funnies. Don't you worry.
No, I cannot wait. Saturday, just set aside 4 p.m. Eastern. Auburn at Alabama's on ESPN. 1 versus 2 is going to be massive. Egg Bowl, Mississippi State, Ole Miss at 6 p.m. Wisconsin goes to Purdue. That could be a big prove-it game for the Badgers because they still haven't played a really tough schedule overall in the Big Ten. Army-Navy, Houston, Arizona, West Virginia at Baylor. Michigan State goes to Illinois. That's 9 p.m. Fox. Princeton at Yale is a big one in the Ivy. And then Omaha, I mentioned them again. It's a big week for them in the Summit. They go to St. Thomas, Minnesota. That's a big one there. And then Sunday, set aside 4 p.m. CBS Sports Network, Utah State at New Mexico at the Pit. Get fired up for that one. Michigan at Ohio State, Bradley Drake, Creighton at St. John's. Plenty of great matchups for you to get all in on hoops now that the football season has come to an end. All right. Nick, it is time to get on track with your locks. You've lost 4 straight. Enough is enough. What's my lock from Nick coming up this week?
Yeah, I'm trying to think who. I guess I'm Oregon. I start off 8-1 and I'm 0-4 since.
You are basically Oregon. Yep, you are.
I'm kind of going away from my gut. I really don't like this pick, but the way I've been picking it, I'm just go with it. Give me Kansas minus 18.5 against Colorado.
Colorado's terrible.
They gave Houston a game on Saturday.
They did.
I thought they played 2 good games in a row. Kansas in the fog. Maybe they'll blow them out. Give me the Kansas. Lock it in. Why not?
Lock it in, baby. I like it. Nick, I am also staying in the Big 12. Now that Milan Momcilovic is back with Iowa State, I think they're going to get rolling. The offense is going to get back. They're at UCF, a team that notably has played well at home in the past, but has not looked good recently at home. So I don't have a line yet on Iowa State at UCF, but I'm guessing it's going to be like maybe minus 5.5, minus 6.5 for Iowa State. If I had to guess, I think that's free money. Lock that in. Iowa State's going to have no problems with the Knights, even though I love you, Nitro, UCF national champions.
Robbie, I'm seeing plus 7.5 right now.
7.5. Okay, that sounds about right. So I'd say if it's 6.5, 7.5, anything above 7.5, I would be a little concerned. So I'm still going to take that and run with it. So Dusty, your lock of the week.
Don't have a spread. I'm going to guess it's about 2.5. And I don't think I've taken them before, but I'm going to go with my alma mater, Chirp Chirp. The Ball State Cardinals are hosting Eastern Michigan, a 4-6 showdown.
Oh!
Eastern Michigan.
Love it.
Lock that down right now.
Yeah!
Lock that crap down right now.
I love it. All right, lock it in for Dusty.
4-6 showdown. I
And
love
the
the
4-6 showdown. Fantastic. Speaking of which, by the way, the locks from last week.
Also, both teams are also 11 and 12 overall. So
Man, mirror images.
So sorry, Robbie. Go ahead.
No, you're fine. Both Dusty and I covered last week. Florida International got the cover in their game, and Florida State, Leonard Hamilton, got the cover over Notre Dame. And Nick, we're not going to mention what happened with Texas and Arkansas. It's okay.
We're not.
All right.
R.I.P. LH.
But it is a good time for Nick to let us get some chuckles and some laughs. It is our favorite time to talk a little funny. It is Nick's Funnies of the Week.
We have a theme this week. This was unintentional, but it is. We just had funny coaches this week because that's their main priority to us fans out there. We'll start off with Rick Pitino. So after the game of Marquette, they asked him about the missed free throws his team had. He said, and I quote, "Inside, I want to kill myself." Close quote. Rick Pitino does not care about PR training or what you can't say. That's why we love Rick Pitino. Do you, Rick? 2-0 this week, so really, clearly something's working. This was not a funny quote. I just thought this was funny. Our coach of Kentucky, Mark Pope, have you heard of him? I have. He did his radio show this week for Kentucky after the gigantic win over South Carolina. And to celebrate, he brought a T-shirt cannon to his post-game radio show.
Oh.
And we shot it at the fans. His first shot missed everyone and went to an empty second deck to nobody. So, shout out Mark Pope.
It's what he did for the Pacers, let's be honest.
Hey, I can't think of a rebuttal for that. That's my guy, but that is a fair point. Shout out Mark Pope. Just stay away from T-shirt cannons.
Yeah.
The other nominee before we get to the winner, I just love this quote from Woodson. For people who didn't see it on Wednesday, before I believe the news came out about him, I don't know the timeline exactly. They're down 26-6 in Wisconsin, and his quote about their performance, he said, quote, "They came out with good intentions." Close quote.
He really said that? I didn't know that. He came out with good intentions.
That's such an odd phrase.
Oh my God.
Doesn't every team come out with good intentions?
Good intentions. We should just name our Thursday pod and not check, please. Good intentions.
That's a great call, Robbie. But finally, the funny of the week. It goes to one man. It is the guy who's going to win the Nick Funny of the Year. It is Doug Gottlieb.
Yeah!
For people who didn't see, I'm just going to read you this headline, okay? Quote, "Fans outrage as College Co. abandons team to go to Super Bowl amid 19-game losing streak." Close quote. Doug Gottlieb missed a practice this week to interview Rashad White, running back of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
He was on Radio Row in New Orleans. He was actually there. He's the head coach of a Division I men's college basketball team. What are we doing?
He should be scouting Illinois, Chicago, not interviewing Ron Rivera.
Oh my
I
God.
don't understand what we're doing. He's on L19 and he's talking to Ron Rivera and Rasheed White. You can't make it up. It's so beautiful. Thank you, Doug Gottlieb, for all the content this year. And it's so good. And also special bonus for bad beats. If you had Michigan -3.5 with that full court shot, that's tough. But shout out all the coaches for being hysterical.
Does Doug Gottlieb win a game the rest of the year? Does it happen?
I don't think so, dude. Should we look? Have you looked at the schedule?
I have not, but I can here shortly. It defies logic that they're at 2-23.
So my birthday, they play Detroit on February 27th, who is tied for second last conference. That's like their only hope.
Will not happen. And Greg Campy's not losing, that's for sure.
That's a good point. So yes, I'll go 0 wins for the Fighting Phoenix for the rest of the year. I just still can't believe this is all real. It's so freaking funny.
3, 4, 5, 6. There is a chance. Oh my gosh. They could finish 2-30. 2-30.
By the way, Jason, I'm looking. Anthony Roy's not their leading scorer, who's averaging 26, has not played since December 14th.
They still haven't played him?
Yes,
you remember what happened, right? When we talked about this on the pod like a month ago. Right. They held him out because of he didn't show up to practice on time or something?
So things are just going great.
They're going great. Everything's fantastic. What a great experiment. Great job, Green Bay. You wanted to become relevant, and
Boy, are you.
you've become relevant for the wrong reasons. All right, Nick, those were fantastic. Thank you, my friend.
Thank you, Doug. For
All
the
right.
content.
Thank you, Doug, indeed. All right, Dusty and Disney, it is time to turn things over to you. Dusty, let's gather around the campfire, sing our campfire song, and enjoy a great story from Dusty's time playing Division I men's college basketball.
It has been a long episode, so I want to give a quick one. I'll never forget. So one of the jokes that we talk about is when I played at Kentucky, I wore number 4, which was given to me, which is randomly funny because my practice jersey was number 40, which made no sense. But I think I've told the story on the pod before where it was so cool to walk into the locker room, our first exhibition game, and just seeing number 4 Mills. I mean, something that I'll never be able to explain how cool that was. The funny part about wearing number 4 was it was Rajon Rondo's number the year before. And I joke all the time with you guys and friends and whatnot that he had to have been so pissed off. Who's this MF for wearing my number? Like, it had to have been. I'm not going to be in the NBA Finals or Eastern Conference Finals, fake behind the back pass, layup off LeBron.
You could probably shoot it better than Rajon Rondo, though, from 3.
I honestly, dead serious, I would say junior in college, I probably could have.
Yeah.
But one of the cooler things about number 4, Kentucky, is Kyle Macy wore number 4.
That's right.
And for those that don't know, is Kyle Macy actually played at Purdue and then transferred to Kentucky and was on the 78 national championship team, I believe. Am I making that up?
That sounds right. Yeah, he was on the 78 team. Yep. Mm-hmm.
So he was a color commentator for Kentucky basketball on their local network. And I'll never forget leaving Rupp Arena after a game. It was actually my first game I got in. And I'm walking to my car, good old 94 Chevy Caprice, and I hear my name yelled multiple times. And I turn around and it's Kyle Macy running me down in the parking lot. And he said, "Hey, Kyle Macy." And I literally froze. I mean, I'm freaking 19 years old. I'm like, I know who you are, sir. And he said, I just want you to know that I'm honored that you're wearing my number. Wow. And I thought that was one of the coolest things that I ever experienced. And with that said, I will let you know that Nick and I told some funny stories in Lexington that I'm going to tell going forward, more of like the playing stories. But that one was just on my mind about literally 20 minutes ago. So I want to tell that one. But yeah, Kyle Macy running you down in the parking lot and just tell you that he's honored, I thought was one of the coolest things ever.
What did we? I should have looked more into it. What was the reason why he transferred from Purdue? Has ever been made known?
No idea, honestly.
Because
I truly don't know.
Because I know he played his freshman year at Purdue. And he won Mr. Basketball when he was at Peru. I knew that. And
he's from right?
Yeah, he's from Fort Wayne. So I'm sure I found it out and I just don't remember over time, but it's still crazy. And also, mind you, Kyle Macy was a pretty dang good head coach when he was at Morehead State. Took him to an NCAA tournament one year too. Like he's been a pretty successful person just across the board.
For sure. And he's played the pros for, I don't know, 5-6 years?
Couple years,
like
yeah. That, right? Played with the Pacers for a year, I know. So yeah, it's he had a pretty
another white Pacer. There you go. Shout out to him.
Gosh. That was when you could get away with it back in the 80s. Not as much anymore. TJ Leaf.
Miles
Plumlee. Gosh, Tyler Hansbrough. Hansbrough was a solid NBA player for a couple years, but
he at least was a pulse, unlike the other two guys.
Yes.
Correct. I agree.
Well, Dusty, you had such a great story. We have to throw it to you for our end of show shout-outs because these are always the gift that keeps on giving.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. From Jasper, Alabama, we're giving a shout out to Mikel Jawan Gladness, who is known for setting the NCAA Division I record for most blocks in a game, 16 blocks against Texas Southern.
Wow.
Yeah. He played in 30 – so he was a community college graduate, transferred, played at Alabama A&M after going from Lawson State Community College.
Mm-hmm.
He appeared in 26 games, and those 26 games had 77 blocks.
Wow.
So this guy was an absolute monster. He also, this is my favorite part, I'm just going to do this real quick. I'm going to read you his career pro teams that he played for.
Oh, boy.
Starting in 2008. Ready? We're going from 2008 to 2020. The Matrix Magic.
Of course.
The Rio Grande Valley Vipers.
Uh-huh.
Actually, the Rocket.
Yep.
G League. Dakota Wizards.
Oh, yeah.
Miami Heat. Golden State Warriors. Santa Cruz Warriors. Reno Bighorns. Sorry to everyone that if I can't pronounce these right. Zhangzhou Zene. Then suddenly the Townsville Crocodiles. Canterbury Rams. Maccabi Ashdod. San Lorenzo de Almagro. Calif/Camaro.
Oh.
Bilbao Basket. As Disney's barking in the background.
I'm going to say Disney's not a fan of these teams.
Now, Irony Naziona. Pistoia Basket. Benfica.
Does this list end? How many teams this guy play for?
Seahorses Mikawa. San Antonio Phoenix. And then finally in 2020, maybe he died of COVID, I have no idea. Arca Gidnia. But most blocks in a D1 game.
Yeah!
Shout out.
Fantastic. See, when you mentioned him, I then went over and looked over at Jarvis Varnado because I was like, oh, that's another guy that I'd like a shot blocking wizard.
He probably had like 12 or something, right?
Something close to that, yeah. But so even his list of teams that he played with was crazy as well. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 34, 50. He played for 20 different teams in the last 13 years.
Wow. Okay, well, that's close.
So
can I read you guys one thing?
Sure.
I love the fact that Wikipedia says this. I'm just going to read it directly from Wikipedia. Gladness averaged modest numbers with 3.1 points, 4.1 rebounds, and 2.2 blocks per game. That's it.
Modest numbers.
Modest.
Modest numbers.
Wikipedia does not lie.
Nope. There we go.
Love it.
Jasper, Alabama.
For my shout out, I don't shout out modest numbers because once again, we're an hour and a half to pod whatever, and none of you guys mentioned Nathan George. He had 20 points, a game high against Virginia. They lost, but he was 5 of 9.
They lost. Oh, okay.
He was 1 of 6 from 2, but he had 20 points, game high. Played 39 minutes. Man has not come out of games. So shout out Nathan George once again, and shout out to us for calling it. The Super Bowl halftime show is gonna be rough for Drake, and boy was it. We called that. And
sure was.
Shout out Serena. Was not expecting to see her. Shout out my girl.
Speaking, I had no idea. When we were all watching the game together, and when we said, that's not Serena Williams, is it? No, that was actually Serena Williams. And I didn't understand the complexities. Serena dated Drake for a time? Is that true?
Yeah, so I went down a deep rabbit hole because I completely pigeonholed this because, again, I was kind of young when this all going on. Yeah, he used to reference her in songs all the time. Apparently she, really broke his heart. And next thing you know, she's your ex-girlfriend dancing to a song about you being a, how do I say this on this program? Not doing good things around young people.
Yeah.
Person.
So, Kendrick Lamar is just living in 2021, 23. We're all in 2025. The dude is just going next level. And
really
again, everyone yelling out A minor at the Superdome last night was just absolutely incredible.
It's a tough. It was so. It honestly was was an all-time great performance. I don't know, it really wasn't, but just
it was solid. It was good.
Oh yeah, just the whole crowd. It was just ultimate, just icing on the cake, just dunking on Drake. It's all it was. It was great.
It's America over Canada as always. Get used to it. Just deal with it. It is what it is. Canada's going to be the 51st state, and it is what it is. My end of show shout out, weirdly enough, as much as I don't like the man, it's going to Nick Sirianni. I don't know if you all saw this morning in his after Super Bowl press conference. He came out wearing A.J. Brown's high school football uniform when he played at Starkville High School. And there's been all sorts of different connections to the state of Mississippi, which, again, a state that I hold near and dear to my heart. Darius Slay, a graduate of Mississippi State University, played at Itawamba Community College, obviously has many roots in the state of Mississippi. A.J. Brown shouting out Mississippi and giving all sorts of love to Starkville. So shout out to Nick Sirianni. Shout out to all of my friends in the Magnolia State. Last night was a great night for the state of Mississippi for so many reasons, and it was awesome to see. On top of that, Chris Jones is just an absolute dude. He played his heart out. I know the Chiefs lost, but again, Houston, Mississippi kid, does all the things the right way. So it was a great night for the state of Mississippi and representing. So shout out to my friends in the Magnolia State, and also shout out to TJ Werre for coming on the pod. TJ is one of my best friends. He's one of my favorite dudes in the entire universe, and I'm pulling for Memphis just for him because I want to see my friends happy when March comes around.
Yeah, shout out TJ. Thanks for coming on the pod, and we should give him more crap for Cal, Dusty. That was on us. We missed opportunity by
You
us.
missed your chance.
Missed our chance.
You really did. You missed your window. All right, that'll do it for episode 20, season 2 of the D1 and Done pod. This was a fun one. Again, we are going to have more guest pods. I think we always seem like we get good listeners and good people tapping in and having a lot of fun checking in on what we're doing. So we'll be back for Check Please on Thursday. I'm fully prepared for Purdue to lose Tuesday night. They never play well at Michigan, and I hope all the Boilermaker fans are ready as well. And if they don't lose, then I told you they were going to win the entire time. I can't lose. It's going to be a great night regardless. So should be a fun week of hoops coming up. Dusty, finish it off for me.
McCall Gladys got a major in business development. Business management.
Great. All right. Well, I can think of no better way to wrap it up than that.
Two-time first team all SWAC as well, 0708. And defensive player, 0708.
All right. Go Southern Tigers then on that note, out of the SWAC. And you guys have a great week. We'll see you for Check Please on Thursday. And thanks for listening to the D1 Done Pod.
Estonian League All-Star 2017.
We're leaving now. You can turn off the pod.
Won the D-League champion 2010.
In a minor.